In the bustling heart of the city, where the skyline brushed the clouds, an exquisite restaurant stood as a beacon of luxury and refinement. Its name, whispered among those who dined within its lavish walls, was synonymous with power and prestige. On this particular evening, the hum of conversations mingled with the clinking of glasses and the soft strains of a piano, creating an atmosphere thick with expectation. Maria slipped into the establishment, her heart racing with anticipation. She wasn't accustomed to places like this. Her life revolved around the daily grind of her job as a marketing consultant. The bustling streets and cramped coffee shops were her normal, not an upscale restaurant dripping with opulence. Yet she had been invited by a client, and turning down the invitation felt like an affront she couldn't afford. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. Dressed in a modest yet elegant outfit, Maria felt slightly out of place. With her dark curls pulled back, revealing a pair of expressive hazel eyes, she exuded a blend of determination and vulnerability. She had always prided herself on her independence and strong moral compass, traits that shaped her life and decisions. But tonight, the alluring environment tugged at her insecurities, whispering that she was an outsider in a world that promised danger and excitement. As she approached the host stand, her eyes were drawn to a figure seated at a corner table, half hidden in shadows. He was distinguished, an imposing presence that seemed to command the room without uttering a single word. Clad in a tailored suit that fit him like a second skin, he exuded an air of authority that set him apart. Giovanni, a name she would learn soon enough, a name that would resonate in her mind long after this evening. Maria caught snippets of laughter and hushed conversations surrounding him. It was clear that he was a man of influence, respected and perhaps feared by those who walked the fine line of his world. Curiosity piqued, she stole glances at him, fascinated by the contrast of his crisp, confident demeanor and the palpable tension that seemed to cloak his very being. There was something magnetic about him, a dangerous allure that made her pulse quicken. Just as she was about to look away, their eyes met. It was a fleeting moment, yet it felt electric, igniting something deep within her, a mix of intrigue and unease that was hard to shake. In that split second, Maria didn't just see a man. She saw a life cloaked in shadows, secrets, and a power that felt almost tangible. But how could someone like him even notice someone like her? She was just a hard-working woman, trying to make a living in a city that rarely cared. The waiter approached her table, breaking the connection with Giovanni. She ordered a simple dish, trying to suppress the growing stir of excitement and dread within her. What lay beyond this moment? Was it merely an encounter, or something more significant? The questions floated through her mind, overwhelming her usual clarity. She didn't belong to this world of luxury, yet a part of her couldn't help but yearn for it. As she waited for her meal, she watched Giovanni interact with the patrons around him. He laughed easily, yet his eyes remained calculating, assessing. It was like he wore a mask, concealing an intensity that suggested he was always 3 steps ahead, always aware of the dangers lurking in the shadows. With her heart racing, Maria found herself leaning in, drawn by the mystery he presented. She had always played by the rules, but in that moment, she couldn't shake the feeling that this evening would challenge everything she knew about herself. The allure of danger danced just at the edges of her consciousness, teasing her into a world she had only glimpsed from afar. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. A group of men entered the restaurant, their laughter too loud, their presence too brash. Maria's instincts kicked in. Something was off about them. Giovanni's demeanor changed, the light in his eyes darkening as he regarded the newcomers. The imposing figure she had admired moments before now seemed ready to unleash a storm, his calm exterior a thinly veiled mask over a brewing tempest. Maria felt a shiver run down her spine. She was witnessing a world that lay hidden beneath the surface of her everyday life, a world where the stakes were life and death, and where shadows whispered secrets. An involuntary shudder coursed through her as she realized she was not merely a bystander in this unfolding drama. She was in the midst of something far more significant than she had bargained for. As the men approached Giovanni's table, the tension escalated. She could see it in his posture, the way he squared his shoulders, an animal ready to pounce. Maria's heart raced with a mixture of fear and curiosity, an unbidden thrill sweeping over her. She had entered a realm of power and danger that was foreign yet intoxicating, pulling her deeper into the intrigue. Just then, Giovanni's sharp gaze flicked in her direction, and for a moment, time stood still. What would happen next? Would he acknowledge her presence, or would she remain an inconsequential figure in his world? That question uncoiled within her, a sweet torment she couldn't ignore. The stakes were rising, and Maria's thoughts drifted to the unknown path laid before her, connecting the threads of her mundane life to the dangerous allure of the man who had unknowingly altered her destiny. As shadows danced around them, Maria realized that her encounter with Giovanni was just the beginning, a doorway into a world that would challenge her values and ignite something within her she never knew existed. What lay beyond that door? The thrill of mystery and the impending danger intertwined like a delicate thread, pulling her toward the inevitable crossroads of her life. She took a deep breath, her heart pounding as the night unfolded before her, unaware of the life-altering choice she was about to make. As the laughter faded with the arrival of the new guests, Maria's heart quickened. She turned her attention back to Giovanni, who seemed unperturbed by the sudden shift in atmosphere. His gaze remained fixed on the entrance, and a fleeting smirk danced across his lips, suggesting he was more than just an observer. Maria was struck again by the duality of his presence. He was both charming and intimidating, like a predator assessing the dynamics of his territory. The group that had entered was loud, their voices carrying a heavy weight that filled the room. Maria couldn't help but overhear snippets of their conversation. They spoke in hushed tones, but the undertones of their banter hinted at something far more sinister than mere casual talk. Words like deal, shipment, and territory floated to her ears, sparking a sense of unease that settled heavily in her stomach. What kind of business dealings were these men involved in? And how did Giovanni fit into this tangled web of power and danger? "Are you okay?" a voice interrupted her thoughts. It was her client, Claire, who had joined her at the table, eyeing her with concern. "You seem a bit distant. Everything all right?" Maria forced a smile, trying to shake off the unsettling feeling that had anchored itself in her mind. "Yeah, just taking it all in." Claire nodded, seemingly satisfied, but Maria's mind was still racing. She stole another glance at Giovanni, who had turned back to his table, now engaged in conversation with a woman whose laughter was too loud and flirtatious. It stung more than she expected. The pang of jealousy surprised her, as she had no claim to him. Yet the magnetic pull was undeniable. "What's he like?" Claire's question broke through her internal chaos. Maria followed her gaze to Giovanni, now leaning back in his chair, one hand casually resting on the table, exuding confidence as if the entire world revolved around him. "Who?" Maria played dumb, though she knew exactly who Claire was referring to. "Giovanni," Claire replied, her voice low, laced with a hint of awe. He's something else, isn't he? They say he's a big player in the city." Maria's heart raced at the mention of his name. "Big player?" she echoed, feigning indifference. "You don't know?" Claire asked, her eyes wide with curiosity. "People say he's involved in the Mafia. Rumor has it that he's untouchable, but there's something about him that draws people in." Maria felt a chill run down her spine. The rumors were true then. Giovanni was not just a man of influence. He was dangerous. Yet despite her instincts screaming at her to stay away, part of her was intrigued. What lay behind those piercing eyes? What was it about him that made everyone, including herself, gravitate toward him? Just then, a loud crash echoed through the restaurant as one of the new guests stumbled, sending his drink flying across the table. Laughter erupted, but Giovanni's expression darkened instantly. His eyes narrowed, the charming facade slipping away to reveal a cold intensity that sent shivers down Maria's spine. In that moment, the atmosphere shifted again. The air was thick with tension, and she could sense that this was not just a simple social gathering. "Stay here," Claire whispered, as though sensing Maria's desire to observe the unfolding drama. Before Maria could respond, Claire stood up and walked over to the ruckus, leaving Maria feeling isolated at the table. Alone, Maria's thoughts spiraled. She couldn't help but watch as Giovanni leaned in closer to the group, his voice low but commanding. She couldn't make out the words, but the way the men shifted their posture told her everything she needed to know. He was in control, and they were afraid. A part of her wanted to get up and leave, to distance herself from this dangerous game. But another part, the part that had been ignited by their earlier eye contact, urged her to stay, to observe, to understand. Suddenly, Giovanni's gaze snapped toward her, and she felt as if he could see straight through her facade. The moment hung between them, charged with unspoken words and questions that neither dared to voice. "Maria," Giovanni called out, his voice smooth yet authoritative, slicing through the noise of the restaurant. The way he said her name sent a thrill down her spine. She felt the weight of the moment as she rose from her chair, almost against her better judgment. "Yes?" she asked, her voice steady despite the rapid beating of her heart. "Join us," he said, gesturing toward the empty seat across from him. It wasn't a question, it was a command. A rush of adrenaline coursed through her as she took a hesitant step forward. She glanced back at Claire, who was too engaged in her own conversation to notice. With a deep breath, she made her way to Giovanni's table, the eyes of the other patrons boring into her as she walked. "Have a seat," he encouraged, his expression unreadable. Maria sat down, acutely aware of the shifting dynamics around her. "I hope you don't mind the chaos. It seems my friends are a bit too enthusiastic tonight." "Not at all," she replied, her throat dry. "It makes for an interesting evening." Giovanni leaned in slightly, his eyes scanning her face as if searching for something. "You seemed intrigued by what you overheard earlier." Her heart raced at the implication. "I'm just a marketing consultant, Giovanni. I hear a lot of things. Things that could be dangerous if the wrong ears overheard them." His voice lowered, and the intensity of his gaze felt like an electric current. Maria swallowed hard, feeling as if she were standing on the edge of a precipice. "What do you mean?" He smiled, the charm returning as he leaned back, but the edge of danger lingered in the air. "Let's just say, not all business here is as innocent as it seems." Her mind raced with the implications of his words. She was being pulled deeper into a world she had only glimpsed. And despite every reason to retreat, the thrill of danger was intoxicating. As the evening wore on, the tension between them escalated, the laughter faded, and in its place was a connection that felt undeniable yet dangerous. Maria found herself captivated by Giovanni, both terrified and exhilarated by his presence. What had begun as a simple dinner invitation had morphed into something entirely different, a collision of two worlds where her ordinary life brushed against the extraordinary chaos of his. With each passing moment, she felt the familiar pull of her desires conflicting with the warnings echoing in her mind. This was only the beginning, and Maria had a sinking feeling that she was on the verge of discovering just how vulnerable she could become in Giovanni's world. Maria's heart raced as the tension enveloped the restaurant, and she felt the weight of Giovanni's gaze even from across the room, a potent mixture of danger and allure. The laughter and chatter faded into the background as she tried to process the chaotic scene before her. Giovanni had a way of commanding attention, and even as the laughter erupted around him, he remained a figure of control, a stark contrast to the unpredictable nature of the evening. Before she could dwell on her thoughts, Claire returned, her expression more serious than before. "You won't believe this, but Giovanni just asked if we could help organize a charity event next week. He wants it to be exclusive," Claire said, glancing back at Giovanni, who was now speaking softly yet firmly to his table. "Charity?" Maria echoed, her brow furrowing. "What kind of charity?" "Something about supporting local schools," Claire replied, her tone laced with excitement. "But you know how these things work. I can't help but think there's more beneath the surface. Maria's mind raced. She had heard whispers of Giovanni's influence in the community, his touch reaching far beyond what seemed apparent. Was this charity event just a front for something more sinister? She felt a knot form in her stomach, a warning bell that urged her to tread carefully. I don't know, Claire. I mean, do we really want to get involved with someone like him? Oh, come on, Maria. This could be a big opportunity for us. We'll be in the spotlight. Claire's eyes sparkled with ambition, oblivious to the darker implications of their involvement. Maria hesitated, torn between her instincts and Claire's excitement. The allure of working with Giovanni, an opportunity to get closer to the enigmatic man, was tempting. Yet she was wary of the world that surrounded him, where the line between honor and deceit blurred. All right, she finally relented, but we need to establish clear boundaries. As they approached Giovanni's table, Maria felt her heart pounding in her chest. With each step, the gravity of the situation became more apparent. The sounds of the bustling restaurant faded, replaced by the low hum of Giovanni's voice, which seemed to command the very air around him. "Ah, Maria, Claire," Giovanni greeted, his tone warm yet authoritative. His gaze locked onto Maria, igniting a spark of recognition that sent shivers down her spine. "I trust you've heard about the event?" "Yes, we're excited about the opportunity," Claire replied eagerly, her eyes wide with anticipation. Maria managed a nod, trying to suppress the whirlwind of emotions swirling within her. "It sounds intriguing, Giovanni, but I hope we can ensure it stays focused on the community's needs." Giovanni's lips curled into a smirk, a hint of amusement dancing in his dark eyes. "Of course, Maria. It's all about perception, isn't it? We want to create something meaningful, something that resonates. But you see, sometimes the truth of the matter is hidden beneath layers of necessity." His words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. Maria felt a shiver run down her spine. There was an edge to his charm, a reminder of the world he inhabited, where shadows lurked just out of sight. "That's exactly what I meant," she replied, striving to maintain her composure. "We should focus on what we can offer, rather than what we can gain." "Spoken like a true professional," Giovanni said, his voice smooth as silk. "It's refreshing to meet someone who values integrity, especially in a city that often forgets it." Maria winced at the compliment, realizing the irony in his words. Did he truly understand the impact of his actions on the very community he claimed to support? Or was this just another play in his grand game? As the conversation unfolded, Maria felt drawn deeper into his world. The more she learned about the charity event, the more she realized how much Giovanni's influence permeated every corner of the community. It was a web of connections, a network that provided both protection and danger, where loyalty was currency and betrayal could cost lives. After discussing the event, Giovanni leaned back, his expression shifting to something softer, almost vulnerable. "You know, Maria, I've seen many people come and go in this city. Few have the courage to stand their ground," he said, his eyes searching hers. "I'm not afraid," she replied, her voice steady, though uncertainty flickered within her. "But I have no intention of losing myself to this world." His gaze intensified, as if weighing her words against an invisible scale. "You might not have a choice. This city can be unforgiving, and sometimes it demands sacrifices." The weight of his words hung between them, and for a moment the bustling noise of the restaurant faded into the background, leaving only the two of them in a world where danger and desire intertwined. Maria felt a rush of defiance surge within her, and sometimes it reveals strength we didn't know we had. Giovanni's lips quirked into a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "That's a dangerous outlook." "Maybe danger is what keeps life interesting," she countered, surprising herself with her boldness. A flicker of admiration crossed his face, and she could see the conflict within him. The powerful mafia boss who thrived on control versus the man who found something intriguing in her resilience. Before they could delve deeper into their conversation, the atmosphere shifted once again. A loud argument erupted from a nearby table, drawing the attention of everyone in the restaurant. Giovanni's demeanor changed in an instant, the charming facade slipping away as he focused intently on the commotion. Maria felt a chill run down her spine. The air crackled with tension, and she could sense Giovanni's protective instincts rising to the surface. "Stay close," he murmured, his voice low and commanding. Her pulse quickened, a mix of fear and exhilaration coursing through her. As she moved closer to him, she realized just how deeply she was entangled in his world. The stakes were higher than she had imagined, and the pull between them was undeniable. As the argument escalated, Giovanni's presence became a source of both comfort and danger for Maria. She was no longer just an observer. She was a participant in a game with rules she barely understood. And the closer she got to Giovanni, the more she feared what it might cost her. In that moment, Maria understood that she was standing on the precipice of a new reality. The lines of her life were blurring, and the thrill of the unknown danced tantalizingly before her. The allure of danger was intoxicating, but the question lingered: at what cost would this new chapter come? In the midst of chaos, Maria realized that she was drawn into something far greater than herself, a world that challenged her resolve and tested her spirit. As the night wore on, she could feel the stakes rising, and with every heartbeat, she knew she was inching closer to the edge, teetering between safety and surrender. Maria felt a blend of excitement and apprehension as she sat across from Giovanni, the ambiance of the restaurant shifting once more. The warmth in his voice contrasted with the cold reality she sensed brewing beneath the surface. While Claire engaged enthusiastically with Giovanni about the charity event, Maria's mind was preoccupied with the implications of the man before her. She was becoming increasingly aware that this was not merely a powerful man seeking to do good. His presence carried an undeniable weight of danger. As their conversation flowed, Giovanni leaned slightly closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "You know, Maria, in this line of work, we are often faced with choices that define our paths. It can be easy to forget the reasons we started, lost in the shadows of our decisions." His words struck a chord deep within her, igniting a flicker of understanding about his struggle, the burden of leadership that came with his position. "But sometimes we must confront those shadows head-on," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "Exactly," Giovanni nodded, a glimmer of respect in his eyes. "It's the choices we make that reveal our true character." Maria considered his words, recognizing an opportunity to connect with him on a deeper level. She had always admired those who stood firm in their convictions, but could she truly trust that Giovanni's convictions aligned with hers? Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. A figure approached their table, a tall man with an air of menace that filled the space. Maria instinctively tensed, her instincts screaming at her to be cautious. Giovanni's demeanor changed instantly. The warmth melted away, replaced by a cold intensity. "What do you want, Marco?" Giovanni's tone was sharp, betraying nothing of the charm he had just displayed. "Just came to check on business. Heard some whispers," Marco replied, his eyes darting between Giovanni and Maria, a smirk playing on his lips. "You know how it is. In our world, information is currency." The tension thickened as Giovanni's jaw tightened, and Maria could sense the undercurrents of a rivalry that hinted at a far more dangerous reality than she had previously understood. "What whispers?" Giovanni's voice was low, dangerous, but Maria could pick up the protective undertone that suggested he was ready to defend what was his. "Your operations are drawing attention, Giovanni," Marco continued, his smirk widening. "The Viper gang has been sniffing around your territory. They're looking for a piece of your action." Maria's heart dropped. The Viper gang was notorious, their reputation for ruthlessness preceding them. She felt a surge of fear mixed with an unexpected rush of determination. Giovanni's world was far more tangled than she had anticipated. He was not just a powerful man, he was a target, and that made every interaction with him infinitely more dangerous. "Let them come. I have no interest in sharing what's mine," Giovanni replied, his voice steady, but Maria could see the flicker of concern in his dark eyes. The threat was real, and she had stumbled into the center of it. As Marco turned to leave, he shot a parting glance at Maria, a look that sent chills down her spine. Be careful with who you align yourself with, Maria. This world is unforgiving. With Marco's departure, the tension in the air thickened, leaving Maria feeling overwhelmed. Giovanni's protective aura now felt like a double-edged sword. It was comforting and alarming all at once. She had always valued her independence, her ability to navigate life on her terms. But now, with Giovanni's world encroaching upon her, her resolve began to falter. "Are you all right?" Giovanni's voice broke through her racing thoughts, concern etched on his face. "I can handle them," he added, as if sensing her hesitation. Maria realized that he had let her in, even if just a little. "I'm fine," she managed, but the words felt heavy on her tongue. "I just need to understand what's happening." Giovanni leaned back, studying her intently, as if weighing her resolve. "I didn't want to burden you with this, but now you're involved. The charity event was meant to unify, to strengthen ties in the community, but it seems like shadows are gathering. It's not just about good intentions anymore." Maria felt a surge of determination. "I want to help," she said firmly, surprising even herself. "If the Viper Gang is a threat, then we need to prepare." Giovanni's expression shifted, a mixture of surprise and admiration lighting his features. "You understand the risks?" "More than you might think," she replied, her heart steadying. "I want to be a part of this. I can help with the charity event, but we need to ensure it doesn't attract unwanted attention." "Very well," Giovanni said, a hint of a smile returning. "You have a brave heart, Maria. That will serve you well." But as he spoke, Maria noted the flicker of concern in his eyes. She was stepping deeper into a world fraught with danger, and while a part of her craved the thrill, another part felt the weight of the responsibility that now rested on her shoulders. As they began to discuss strategies for the charity event, the atmosphere shifted again, an unspoken bond forming between them. Maria realized that her life was no longer just about her safe, predictable choices. She was willingly stepping into Giovanni's world, entangled in the web of his life, where every decision could lead to peril or promise. "What if we use the charity to strengthen our position?" she suggested, her mind racing. "We could invite community leaders, showcase the positive aspects of your influence, and draw attention away from the shadows." Giovanni's eyes shone with interest. "You might be onto something," he said slowly, a new respect growing between them. But as they plotted, Maria couldn't shake the feeling that the stakes were rising. Their connection was deepening, but so was the danger surrounding Giovanni. She knew that her involvement would lead to a confrontation, one that would test not only her courage, but also the strength of their bond. The night wore on, and as they finalized plans, Maria felt a sense of purpose ignite within her. She was no longer just an observer. She was an essential part of something larger, something that could either protect or destroy. The impending confrontation loomed over them, but together they could face whatever came their way. As she looked into Giovanni's eyes, she felt an unspoken promise between them, a commitment to stand by each other as they navigated the treacherous waters ahead. As the restaurant's ambient noise faded into a distant hum, the lingering tension in the air felt palpable. Maria's heart raced, not just from fear, but from a growing sense of urgency. Giovanni's protective aura enveloped her like a warm cloak, but beneath it lay an unsettling truth. He was a man surrounded by shadows, and those shadows were creeping closer. "I need to know what's going on," she said, her voice firmer than she felt. "You don't have to shield me from this." Giovanni studied her for a moment, a flicker of something, appreciation perhaps, flashing in his dark eyes. "Maria, this is a world you don't understand. It's not just business, it's life and death." "Then help me understand," she insisted, leaning forward. "You've brought me into this life with your charm and those soft words, but I won't back down now. I deserve to know what I'm stepping into." His expression hardened. "You think you're ready for this? I didn't want you to see this side of my world. It's dangerous, and I want to protect you." "Protect me?" Maria scoffed, the anger bubbling within her. You think keeping me in the dark is protecting me? I want the truth, Giovanni. Giovanni sighed, the weight of his past evident on his face. Fine, he relented, his voice dropping to a whisper as if the walls themselves had ears. I had a brother, Marco. We grew up in the same world, hardened by the streets, but he was different. He was reckless. He believed in loyalty above everything, and it cost him his life. Maria felt her breath catch in her throat. What happened? He was betrayed by someone he trusted, someone within our own family, Giovanni replied, his gaze drifting as if he were staring into the past. After that, I vowed never to show weakness. I had to be the cold, hard man they all feared, a leader who would not falter. Maria's heart ached for him, for the boy who had lost so much. But you're not just that man anymore, Giovanni. You've changed. I see it in the way you are with me. He shook his head, a sad smile creeping onto his lips. You think so? I wanted to be different for you, but this world clings to me like a shadow. It doesn't let go that easily. Suddenly, the restaurant door swung open, and the atmosphere shifted again. A group of men entered, their presence igniting a spark of recognition in Giovanni's eyes. The Viper Gang, he murmured, his voice laced with urgency. Maria's heart raced anew as she felt the tension in the room escalate. What do? We confront them, Giovanni said, his voice steady, but Maria could see the storm brewing within him. Stay close. As they made their way toward the entrance, Giovanni took her hand, a gesture that sent both comfort and alarm coursing through her. She could feel the tension in his grip, the urge to protect mingling with an unyielding resolve. The leader of the Viper Gang stepped forward, a tall man with an air of confidence that screamed danger. Giovanni, he said, his tone dripping with mockery, I didn't expect to find you in such pleasant company. Vince, Giovanni replied, his voice low and measured. What do you want? The same thing I always want, Vince said, his smile widening. Your territory. You're getting too comfortable, and I'm here to remind you of the hierarchy. Maria felt the heat of the moment intensify as Giovanni's grip on her tightened. My territory is mine, and I don't plan on sharing it, Giovanni said, his voice deceptively calm. Vince's eyes flickered to Maria, a predatory glint igniting within. And what about your little friend? Can she handle the consequences of your choices? Maria's heart raced, every instinct screaming at her to flee. But she stood her ground, fueled by the connection they had forged. I'm not just a friend, I'm a part of this now, she declared, her voice steady despite the tremor within. Whatever happens, I will face it with him. Giovanni's gaze shifted to her, surprise evident in his expression, and for a brief moment, she saw the vulnerability he usually concealed. You don't understand. I do understand, Maria interrupted, the strength of her conviction igniting a fire within her. I won't let you face this alone. A tense silence fell over the group, each man assessing the other, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavily in the air. Giovanni's face softened slightly as he looked at her, a realization dawning upon him. Then we fight together, he said, the determination in his voice unwavering. Good choice, Vince mocked, stepping closer, his gang flanking him. Let's see if your little love story can survive the reality of this world. As the tension reached its boiling point, Maria felt a surge of adrenaline. She didn't know what would happen next, but in that moment, standing beside Giovanni, she felt a sense of purpose. He had opened up to her, shedding the layers of his guarded heart, and now they were both on the precipice of something monumental. With a fierce resolve, Giovanni stepped forward, ready to defend what was his. If you want a piece of me, then come and take it. But know this, I won't go down without a fight. The confrontation was inevitable, but Maria felt a flicker of hope igniting within her. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together, and this time she would not stand on the sidelines. She was ready to confront the shadows that lingered, not just for Giovanni, but for herself too. As the gang moved in, she felt Giovanni's hand tighten around hers, grounding her. This was a moment of choice, and they would either rise together or fall apart. but Maria knew deep down that they were stronger than their fears, and together they could carve a path through the darkness. The clash was imminent, and as the stakes escalated, one thing became clear. This was only the beginning of their fight, both against their enemies and against the shadows within themselves. As the tension in the air thickened, Giovanni's gaze shifted from Maria to Vince, the leader of the Viper Gang, who was now eyeing Maria with a predatory glint. Giovanni's protective instincts flared, but he felt a flicker of admiration for Maria's unwavering stance beside him. "Whatever happens, I will face it with him," she had declared, and for the first time, he saw her not just as a partner, but as an equal in this dangerous game. That moment of understanding blossomed within him, entwining with the unspoken bond they had forged. "Is that so?" Vince taunted, his tone laced with mockery. "You think you're ready for this world? It's not just luxury dinners and charming conversations. It's blood, betrayal, and power plays." Giovanni stepped forward, his body tense, ready to shield Maria from the threat that loomed. "You have no idea what you're talking about." Vince laughed, an unsettling sound that echoed in the upscale restaurant. "Oh, but I do. Your little dove here is about to learn the hard way what it means to be entangled with a man like you." Giovanni's jaw clenched as he felt the surge of rage rising within him, but he held it in check, knowing that any rash action could lead to a confrontation neither of them was prepared for. "Let's take this outside, Vince," Giovanni said, forcing his voice to remain steady. "I won't let you threaten her here." Vince raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. "You're willing to risk your precious reputation for her? How noble. But let's not kid ourselves. She's just a pawn in this game." Maria's heart pounded, every instinct urging her to retreat, but she remained rooted in place, her gaze locked onto Giovanni. "Enough!" she shouted, the firmness of her voice surprising even herself. "I'm not a pawn. I'm a part of this, whether you like it or not." Giovanni turned to her, his expression a mixture of pride and concern. "Maria, this isn't a game. You don't understand the stakes." Her heart fluttered at his concern, but a fire ignited within her. "And you don't understand me if you think I'll step back now. I want to be here, with you. I want to fight this together." Giovanni's breath caught in his throat, overwhelmed by the depth of her conviction. In that moment, the chaos around them faded, and all that mattered was the connection they shared. "You truly mean that?" he whispered, vulnerability seeping through his usually stoic facade. "Yes, Giovanni, I've seen the darkness, and I refuse to let it control us. I want to know you, all of you, even the parts that scare me." Vince scoffed, breaking the unbroken tension. "Such a touching moment, but let's get back to business. What will it be, Giovanni? Are you going to fight for your territory, or will you surrender it peacefully?" Giovanni's thoughts raced, weighing the safety of Maria against the encroaching threat. He had spent years building his empire, but now he had something far more precious to protect. "I will not back down," he said, his voice steady and resolute. "You want a war? Then let's settle this. But know this, I won't fight alone." Maria's heart soared at his declaration, a surge of strength coursing through her veins. She knew the dangers, yet she felt utterly alive standing beside him. "I'm with you, Giovanni. Always." Vince's expression soured at their united front, and he raised an eyebrow. "Then it seems we have no choice but to escalate things. Enjoy your little moment, but remember, the shadows are always watching." With that, he turned on his heel, signaling his gang to follow as they exited the restaurant, leaving a heavy silence in their wake. As the door swung shut behind them, Giovanni turned to Maria, his expression a blend of determination and concern. "What you did back there," he began, but she interrupted him with a fierce look. "You needed me to stand up, Giovanni. I can't be the one hiding anymore." "Then we need to prepare," he said, his tone shifting to one of urgency. "They won't back down easily. There's no telling how far Vince will go." Maria took a deep breath, the weight of their situation crashing down around her. "What's our next move?" Giovanni's eyes softened as he took her hands in his. "We need to gather allies. I have contacts, But trust is a rare commodity in this world. You have to be ready for what's to come. I am ready, she asserted, her resolve unwavering. We're in this together, right? We face whatever comes next. Giovanni studied her, the admiration in his eyes, contrasting with the fear of what lay ahead. You make it sound so easy, but the danger is real. I won't lose you, Maria. A flicker of vulnerability crossed his face, a side of him she hadn't seen before. You won't lose me, she promised, squeezing his hands. I've come too far to turn back now. In that moment, the weight of their shared commitment solidified, intertwining their fates in ways neither could have anticipated. Just then, a text notification pinged on Giovanni's phone, breaking their moment. He glanced at it, his expression darkening. It's about Marco, he said, his voice low. I need to handle this. Before she could respond, Giovanni released her hands and stepped back, the distance between them suddenly feeling like a chasm. What do you mean? Maria asked, feeling the shift in their connection. Giovanni, don't shut me out. He turned to her, a storm brewing in his eyes. I need to confront my past before I can move forward with you. This is the only way I can protect you. By putting yourself in danger? Maria stepped closer, her heart racing. You can't do this alone anymore. We're partners, remember? Giovanni's expression softened, and he took a step back toward her, bridging the gap between them. You're right, but I need to do this first. I won't let my past endanger our future. Their gazes locked, and in that charged moment, Maria felt the weight of their shared journey, the unspoken promise of love and loyalty hanging in the air between them. Together, Giovanni, she whispered, we can face anything. As he leaned closer, their foreheads touching, the chaotic world outside faded away, leaving just the two of them in that fragile moment of connection. Together, Giovanni echoed, a vow that rang with every ounce of sincerity in his heart. The stakes had never been higher, but they stood resolute, ready to face whatever storm awaited them, united not just by love, but by an unbreakable bond forged in the fires of adversity. The shadows may have loomed large, but their light was undeniable, illuminating the path ahead. Let's go, Giovanni said, determination etched in his voice. We have a fight to win. Lead the way, Maria replied, her heart steady, ready to embrace the challenges that awaited them with Giovanni by her side. Together, they stepped out into the chaos, ready to carve their destiny in a world that had tried to tear them apart. And as they walked toward the unknown, the future ahead was both terrifying and thrilling, their hearts racing with the promise of what was yet to come. As the heavy silence of the restaurant settled after Vince's departure, Maria felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her. Giovanni's gaze bore into hers, a mixture of gratitude and concern swirling in his dark eyes. We need to be careful, he said, his voice low. Vince won't stop until he gets what he wants. He's ruthless, and he won't hesitate to use violence. Maria took a deep breath, her resolve firming. Then we'll be ready, she replied, a newfound confidence lacing her words. I won't let fear dictate my choices anymore. I'm in this with you, no turning back. Giovanni nodded, his heart swelling with admiration for her bravery. He had always seen her as someone ordinary, yet in this moment she transcended those boundaries, stepping into a world that was dark and dangerous, but also alluring. Let's go back to my place, he suggested, his voice steady but urgent. We need to strategize and prepare for what's coming. I have connections that can help us. Maria nodded, her heart racing, not only from the impending danger, but from the thrill of standing beside him, facing the unknown together. As they stepped outside into the cool night air, Giovanni instinctively placed a protective arm around her shoulders. The city lights flickered like stars against the backdrop of the night sky, but the beauty of the moment was overshadowed by the tension that lingered in the air. They reached his car, a sleek black vehicle that exuded power and elegance. Giovanni opened the door for her, a gentlemanly gesture that reminded Maria of the man she had first met, the man who had captivated her with his charm and mystery. The drive was filled with a charged silence, each lost in their thoughts. Maria glanced at Giovanni, his jaw set in determination as he navigated through the city streets. She admired the way he controlled the vehicle, just as he controlled his life, but she also sensed the underlying turmoil within him. He had built an empire, yet it was all on the brink of collapse because of one man's ambition. As they arrived at Giovanni's luxurious penthouse, the atmosphere shifted. The walls of the elegant space seemed to close in on them, filled with memories of their encounters and the weight of the present situation. "We need to talk to my men," Giovanni said, leading her through the expansive living room, adorned with modern art and lavish decor. "They'll help us understand Vince's next move." Maria's heart raced again, not just from fear, but from the thrill of being part of something much larger than herself. She had never imagined that her life could intertwine with the world of the Mafia, yet here she was, ready to face the dangers that lurked in the shadows. Giovanni's men arrived shortly after, a group of stern-faced individuals who exuded authority. They gathered around a large table, and Giovanni introduced Maria, ensuring that everyone understood her importance in this fight. "We're not just defending territory," he said, his voice steady. "We're protecting what we care about. Maria is with me, and that makes her a target for Vince." The men nodded, their expressions serious as they absorbed the information. Maria felt a surge of pride. She was no longer just an outsider, but an integral part of their strategy. As they discussed their options, she realized that her presence was not a liability, but an asset. Giovanni's trust in her ignited a fire within her, fueling her determination to prove herself. Hours passed as they plotted their course of action. Maria listened intently, her mind racing with ideas and strategies. She suggested ways to gather information on Vince's movements, drawing from her own experiences in the business world. Giovanni watched her, a mixture of admiration and astonishment on his face. He had underestimated her capabilities, but now he saw the fierce intelligence that lay beneath her exterior. As the night wore on, the discussions intensified, each plan more daring than the last. Giovanni's men were impressed by Maria's insights, and for the first time, she felt truly accepted in this world. She was no longer just the Mafia boss's girlfriend. She was a partner, someone who could stand shoulder to shoulder with him in the face of danger. Finally, they settled on a plan. They would confront Vince directly, drawing him out into the open where they could take control of the situation. "This is risky," one of Giovanni's men warned. "Vince won't play fair." Giovanni's jaw tightened, his gaze unwavering. "Neither will we. We have the advantage of surprise, and I won't let him take what's mine." As the meeting came to a close, Maria felt a sense of empowerment wash over her. She had found her place in this tumultuous world, not as a pawn, but as a player. Giovanni turned to her, a softness in his eyes that contrasted with the steeliness of his demeanor. "Are you sure you want to do this?" he asked, concern etched on his face. Maria stepped closer, her heart steady. "I've never been more sure of anything in my life. I'm with you, Giovanni. Whatever happens, we face it together." Giovanni's expression softened, and he reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers. In that moment, the chaos of their lives faded away, leaving only the undeniable connection they shared. The following days were a whirlwind of preparation. They trained together, strategizing and honing their skills. Giovanni taught Maria the intricacies of the Mafia world, while she shared her insights into tactics and negotiation. Each passing moment solidified their bond, and Maria felt herself evolving into a woman who could hold her own in a man's world. Finally, the day of confrontation arrived. Giovanni and his men gathered, tension crackling in the air as they prepared to face Vince. Maria stood beside Giovanni, her heart pounding with anticipation. They would not just be fighting for territory, they would be fighting for their future together. As they approached the designated meeting point, a deserted warehouse on the outskirts of the city, the stakes felt higher than ever. Giovanni's men moved with precision, their expressions serious and focused. Maria felt a surge of adrenaline, knowing that her presence mattered in this critical moment. When Vince arrived, flanked by his own gang, the atmosphere shifted. The air was thick with animosity, and Maria could sense the danger pulsating around them. Giovanni stepped forward, his voice steady and commanding. "This ends today, Vince. You've crossed the line, and I won't let you threaten what's mine any longer." Vince's laughter echoed through the warehouse, a chilling sound. "You think you can intimidate me, Giovanni? You've always been a fool to think you could protect her. She's just a means to an end." Maria's heart raced as she stepped forward, her voice strong. "I'm not a pawn in your game, Vince. I stand with Giovanni, and I refuse to be intimidated by you." The surprise on Vince's face was palpable, and Giovanni's pride surged as he looked at her, seeing the fierce woman she had become. The confrontation escalated quickly, words turning to shouts, and tensions boiling over. But Maria felt a sense of calm wash over her. She was ready to fight, not just for her life, but for the life she wanted with Giovanni. As the chaos erupted, Giovanni moved with purpose, protecting Maria at every turn. She fought alongside him, using her skills to outmaneuver Vince's gang. The battle was fierce, but together they were unstoppable. Each moment solidified their bond, and with each victory, Maria felt more empowered. Finally, as the dust settled and the fight came to an end, they stood victorious. Giovanni faced Vince, who lay defeated on the ground. "You underestimated me." "Just as you underestimated her," Giovanni said, his voice low and threatening. "This is your final warning. Stay away from us, or you'll regret it." With that, Vince was escorted away, leaving Giovanni and Maria standing together amidst the remnants of their battle. The weight of the moment hung in the air, but Maria felt a sense of triumph. They had faced the darkness together and emerged stronger than ever. As they walked away from the warehouse, hand in hand, Giovanni turned to her, a softness returning to his gaze. "You were incredible," he said, admiration evident in his voice. "I never doubted you, but you've proven yourself in ways I never expected." Maria smiled, her heart swelling with pride. "I'm not just a part of your world, I'm a partner in it. I want to build a future with you, Giovanni, together." He pulled her closer, his lips brushing against her forehead, a tender moment amidst the chaos. "Together," he echoed, a promise resonating in his words. As they made their way back to the city, the horizon glowed with the promise of a new day. They had faced their fears and emerged victorious, not just as individuals, but as a united front. In that moment, Maria knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, side by side, ready to carve out a life filled with love, power, and unbreakable bonds. The future was theirs, and as they stepped into the light, hope illuminated their path. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear.